guys, I'm Amy from Taste Film and welcome to Taste Film Cookery Club. So for those of you who are new to Taste Film is an immersive dining company whereby we screen iconic films in restaurants and we serve our guests the food from the film. Now, obviously that's pretty tricky to do during the lockdown, so we just kind of wanted to find a way to keep the momentum going and still give people their film and food fixes. The Taste Film Cookery Club concept is pretty simple. Every week we are going to be guiding you through our interpretations of film-inspired dishes. So this week I'm going to be starting with beef bourguignon from Julia and Julia, and I just want to kind of put up my disclaimer now that mine is ever so slightly different to Julia Childs. So I've kind of modernised mine ever so slightly, got some tips from my mum and some of the things that I personally do. And I would just like to read this in Julia's words. As is the case with most famous dishes, there are more ways than one to arrive at a good beef bourguignon. Carefully done and perfectly flavoured, it's certainly one of the most delicious beef dishes concocted by man and can well be the main course for a buffet dinner. Fortunately, you can prepare it completely ahead, even a day in advance, and it only gains in flavour when reheated. So I just wanted to bring your attention to that last point, that it gains in flavour, because a few people have asked me, well, why are we cooking it at midday when we're not going to eat it until 7 o'clock when we watch the film? And the point is, the longer that you leave the beef bourguignon, the more beautiful it gets. Ideally, you would have it the next day, and that's why I have suggested that everyone uses 2 pounds of beef so that you have some leftovers.
I will be making boeuf bourguignon, which was the first dish our distinguished guest cooked upon reading Mastering the Art of French Cooking for the first time.
Boeuf bourguignon. Julia Childs Beef Bourguignon.
Well, since no one guessed my mystery guest, I'm going to have to tell you all. It's Judith Jones, the editor who's responsible for getting Julia's cookbook published way back when. The woman who recognized history in an onion skin manuscript. She's older and probably not used to eating at 10 o'clock at night, which is why I am being diligent about this and making the stew the night before. And as I cook it, I almost feel as if Julia and I are communicating over space and time on a deep spiritual, mystical level.
So before we get started with the method, I would just like to go through the ingredients and talk to you a little bit about how I selected and prepared my ingredients. Okay, we're going to start with the mushrooms. Let me just turn this down a tiny bit. Okay, so I managed to get chestnut mushrooms. I only use chestnut mushrooms. I find that white mushrooms, button mushrooms are tasteless, personally. And I never ever peel mushrooms, ever. And I never wash them, which some people might find a bit alarming, but I don't wash mushrooms, I wipe them. So I wipe them with kitchen roll. Mum always told me, never ever wash mushrooms because they're like a sponge. They've got so much water in them already that it just ruins them completely. And when I have washed them and not listened to her, that has happened. So that's those. Looking at the beef stock. In the ingredients, I said that you needed a beef stock cube, like a stock pot, and an oxo stock cube. The reason that I said both is because they both give different kind of flavours of beef. I personally, if I just use the stock pot and I don't use the oxo stock cube, it just doesn't have the same depth. But you guys might be different. Whatever you want to kind of use, whatever suits your palate, it's completely up to you when it comes to stock. So I've put the beef stock pot and the oxo stock cube in 500 millilitres of water, but you will need more water. Alright, and that is all dependent on how big your casserole dish is, but we'll move on to that later. So garlic, I said 3 cloves of garlic. I actually put 4 cloves because they were quite small, and I put them into a pestle and mortar because that's how I like to personally do them. I don't like to grate them or crush them completely for something like this because I find that the flavour just completely dissolves, it just goes. So I personally prefer it in a pestle and mortar. 300 millilitres of red wine. I'm not a red wine connoisseur, unfortunately. I'm actually drinking Prosecco while cooking this. I know that I should be drinking some red wine, but I'm not. But I know from my mother that Beaujolais is a really, really good one to use with this dish, or any good, rich red wine. Pinot Noir is another good one. Chianti is another good one, suggested by Julia Childs. Bacon. So in Julia Childs' recipe, she is making her recipe for 6 people. Mine is just for 4. So I've done 6 rashers, and by 6 rashers, I just want to break it down. So 1 rasher of bacon to me is half of that, okay? Does that make sense? So I've done 6 rashers of smoked streaky bacon. I find that back bacon, it doesn't have enough fat, so it's not gonna have enough flavor personally. For the beef, I have gone with braising steak. This was the perfect one for me. I have tried it with stewing steak, I've tried it with brisket, and I prefer beef bourguignon with braising steak. Julia Child, I must say, uses stewing steak, so it's totally up to you. Have a play around with it, and obviously use whatever you can get, whatever is available, but for me, braising steak is the one. You will also need 1 carrot, 2 medium onions, a bunch of parsley, thyme, olive oil, butter, bay leaves, flour, tomato puree and salt and pepper. Brilliant guys, I think we're ready to begin. So if you could preheat your ovens to 200 degrees Celsius and pour yourselves a glass of whatever you're drinking. We're going to start with cooking the onions in the casserole dish. So the beauty of this dish is that everything is done in the same dish, which I just love because I really hate washing up. So this is a real joy, okay? So 2 tablespoons of olive oil straight into our casserole dish. Now I did say in the ingredients list, or I said it somewhere, that we needed a medium to large casserole dish. As you can see, this is kind of bordering on small. I'm really praying that this is going to be fit for purpose, but we will soon find out. I thought that it was a bit larger than this. I don't know, in my head I visualised a larger casserole dish, but we're gonna make it work, whatever happens. So, heat up your olive oil to a medium heat. That's actually a bit high. And then fry off your bacon. Saute the bacon for approximately 3 minutes until crisp and browned. Transfer with a slotted spoon to a large dish and set aside. Okay, so we've got our bacon to the side and we are now ready to fry our beef. Key thing that we need to remember here, and this is what Julia Childs specifies in her recipe book, Mastering the Art of French Cooking, please purchase it, it's amazing, is to make sure that your beef is completely dry before you fry it, otherwise it won't brown. So the way that I personally do this is by using a bit of kitchen towel and just kind of wrapping it around the piece of beef, each piece of beef, to making sure that it's bone dry and then filling it in. Great, so the beef is now seared, the bacon is put to the side, and now we can fry our vegetables. So we're going to start with our carrots and our onions. So we're frying it in the same casserole dish as we just fried our meat. You'll still have a little bit of oil left in there and the sediment. So have it on a medium to high heat and fry that for 3 minutes. Okay, so everything has sauteed beautifully now. The garlic, I can really smell the garlic. It isn't quite done, but it's sauteed on the outside, it's slightly translucent. So now it is ready for the beef and the bacon. So throw in the beef. Just make sure that it's why have I turned that off? So keep it at kind of a medium to high heat. Add in the bacon. Give it a real stir. Yeah, I knew that this casserole dish would be too small. I can already tell that this is going to be an issue. Stir in the flour, thyme and season with a little salt and pepper. Now, unlike Julia Child, we're going to be adding a beef stock to our bourguignon, so please go easy on the salt. Alright, everything has been cooking now for about 4 to 5 minutes. We need to add in the rest of the ingredients, bring it to the boil, reduce it to a simmer and put it into the oven, okay? So, first things first, we need to add in our wine. Make sure that your heat, again, is at a medium to high heat, because what we want to do is really bring it up, reduce all of the alcohol and then transfer it to the oven. So we're going to throw that straight in. We're going to throw in our stock. We're going to put in our bay leaves, our tomato puree, give it a real stir. Now, I actually thought that we would need a little bit more water to cover the meat, but this is perfect. How gorgeous is that looking? We just need to bring it to the boil and put it into the oven. Okay, this is crying to go into the oven right now. So we're going to transfer it, turn off the heat, add the lid. Just a note, if you don't have a lid, so if you don't have a casserole dish, it's absolutely fine. I don't actually own a casserole dish, this is my mother's. But at home, I would use just a dish with foil. Absolutely fine. Not as easy as this, but it works just as well, okay? So we're going to transfer it to the oven. Let me just turn this around slightly. So I did have it on 200, I've now put it down to 175. Mum always taught me just to start it at a really, really high heat. Not really high, a little bit higher, and then turn it down slightly when you add in the food. Simmer in the oven on 175 degrees Celsius for 2.5 hours or until the meat is tender. Okay, our beef has got about 15 minutes left, which gives us enough time to fry off our garlic mushrooms before adding them to the beef. So we will be using lashings of butter. Something that really resonated with me actually from the film was the appreciation for butter.
Let me say this. Is there anything better than butter? Think it over. Every time you taste something that's delicious beyond imagining, and you say, what is in this? The answer is always going to be butter.
It's incredible.
It's been whisked into submission, that's why. The day there's a meteorite heading toward the Earth, and we have 30 days to live, I am going to spend it eating butter.
And on that note, never overcrowd the pan or the mushrooms won't brown, even if it means that you have to do it in batches. So melt the butter, fry the mashed garlic for about 1 minute before adding the mushrooms, and cook it all for about 5 minutes. Season with some salt and pepper if you like, and once they're brown, just set them aside. Perfect. Okay, these mushrooms are pretty much done. I'm going to put those to the side and take out the beef for the moment of truth. So it's been in here for 2.5 hours. I haven't touched it, which I always really struggle with when I have something baking in the oven. I like to keep on checking it, and it just messes up the temperature of the oven, I've been told, so I don't do that anymore. So here we go. Oh my gosh. Oh! Right, I need to get my mother in to do the ultimate taste test. Great, so I have just added in the mushrooms and the flavours are really, really coming together now. Oh my gosh. I don't want to over stir it too much because the meat, and this is how the meat should be, it is breaking apart slightly, and I don't want it to all be broken up, so I'm going to try not to mess with it too much. I tend to do that. Just give it a quick taste. Oh my god. That is insane. Okay, one more bit. And that, I need to put a lid on this so that I don't eat it. It's going to taste even better in a few hours. So I really, really encourage you to cook it as soon as you get this method. Leave it aside for a few hours at 6:45. Just reheat it on a medium heat on the stove for 15 minutes. Set your table in front of the television. I know that that definitely isn't the French way, and usually I really try not to have any distractions when I'm eating, but on occasions like this, it's just going to make the film and the food so much more enjoyable, hence why we came up with taste film. So yeah, a few hours time. In that time, you can create any size that you like. I'm personally just going to have mine with bread and butter. My mother is going to have hers with mashed potato. She loves mashed potato, so you can have it with rice. It's really, really nice with rice. I was quite fortunate. I don't need to add any water, and I don't need to simmer it anymore to get rid of any water, but you might need to. I'll leave some directions now after this, and you might want to season it. And then the last thing that you will be adding is some parsley. Okay, like I said before, so don't break up the parsley until the very, very last minute. Perfect, I'll see you at 7. If you find that your sauce is a bit too thick, just add a few tablespoons of water or some stock, stir it well and just allow it to cook for a few more minutes. On the other hand, you might actually have a little bit too much liquid in your stew, so after removing it from the oven and before adding the mushrooms, place a colander over a large pot, drain the beef stew through the colander and just simmer the liquid over a medium heat for 5 minutes.